The United States Secret Service has said that suspected explosive devices were sent to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and former U.S. President Barack Obama. This comes 2 days after a bomb was sent to the home of investor George Soros at his home in suburbs of New York City. The devices were discovered by technicians who screened mails sent to the former American presidents. The Secret Service has said that the first package was sent to Hillary Clinton on 23rd October and that a second package addressed to the residence of former President Barack Obama was intercepted in Washington, D.C. United States President Donald Trump has promised through thorough investigation into suspicious packages which were sent to prominent Democrats. New York City officials have dubbed these packages as an act of terrorism. Remember, the alarming incidents come days before the country's crucial midterm polls. Thousands of migrants from the countries of Honduras, El Salvador and Guatemala continue their journey to the United States via Mexico. This after American President Donald Trump called the caravan an assault on the U.S. According to the United Nations, more than 7,000 people have now joined the caravan, including some Central Americans who were already in Mexico. Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has finally broken his silence on the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, calling it a heinous crime, speaking at an investors' conference in Riyadh that has been overshadowed by the crisis. Bin Salman said those responsible for the killing would be brought to justice. This comes after the Saudi close ally, the United States, called it Khashoggi's murder the worst cover-up. Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte met Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. Conte boasted of Italy's quote-unquote robust economy at a time when Rome is at loggerheads with the European Union over its debts. The Italian Premier also invited Putin for a state visit to his country. Thailand's Prime Minister welcomed his Malaysian counterpart Mahathir Mohamad in the capital city of Bangkok. The two leaders held bilateral talks over a number of regional issues, including violence in Thailand's deep south. The two-day trip to the neighbouring nation is the first by Mahathir since he won a shock general election in May this year. The UN Special Envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura, described his talks with the Syrian Foreign Minister as frank and intense regarding the formation of the Syrian Constitutional Committee. 71-year-old Mistura, who is due to resign next month, said, and I quote, "We had a long meeting with Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallim. During the meeting, we had a very frank and intense exchange of opinion concerning the Constitutional Committee and political process in general." Thousands of protesters gathered outside Argentina's Congress building to protest the government's 2019 austerity budget plans. Teachers, social organizations, leftist groups and students congregated outside the government building and shouted slogans against President Mauricio Macri's austerity measures. Small clusters of protesters hurled rocks, sticks and trash at police, who shot rubber bullets and used metal barriers to control the crowd. Dozens of migrants clashed with the Bosnian police while trying to cross the border into neighbouring Croatia, which is a member of the European Union. Shouting slogans like quote-unquote open borders, the migrants surged through a police cordon before being stopped by personnel near a border crossing between the two countries. The border police also stopped some 100 migrants from getting off a train that arrived in the area and turned back buses with migrants to curb any new arrivals. Thousands of migrants have been staying in Bosnia while trying to cross to Croatia and proceed towards other Eurozone countries. A massive fire destroyed a 150-year-old church in Wakefield in the U.S. state of Massachusetts. Firefighters struck to contain the blaze which ripped through the First Baptist Church near Boston City. According to reports, a group meeting was underway when the incident took place, but no injuries were reported as people made it out safely. The cause of the fire is under investigation. At least one person was killed when a scaffolding collapsed outside the central station in the busy Belgian city of Antwerp. Fire engines were deployed at the scene where a pile of tangled metal lay in a street next to the station as emergency response teams searched to see if anyone was trapped under the collapsed structure. Italian Prime Minister Conte took part in a flower-laying ceremony at the tomb of the unknown soldier at the Kremlin. Italy's Eurosceptic government is pushing for a reduction of tensions between the European Union and Russia, but risks isolation in Brussels as Eurozone partners instead seek stronger measures to deter Moscow from interfering in EU affairs. As coastal Mexico was battered by Hurricane Willa, videos posted on social media show the hurricane hitting Mexico's coastal resort town of Puerto Vallarta. Although the storm weakened by mid-morning as it moved quickly inland over northwest central Mexico, it was still expected to dump heavy rains across the region. A landslide in northeastern Colombia has killed 9 and left 15 others injured. Disaster relief agencies continue to search for victims who might be trapped beneath the rubble. The landslide comes as Colombia faces a second round of unexpected monsoon rain that has left 30 out of the country's 32 departments on high alert due to the heavy rainfall. So far, more than 28,000 families have been affected, and authorities have called for its citizens to pay attention to the alerts from the risk unit in order to avoid further tragedies. An endless war coupled with drought conditions has led to a drastic decline in Syria's wheat production. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization said that wheat yield in the country this year fell at its lowest in 3 decades by around 30%. Syria produced 1.2 million tons of wheat in 2018, a record low since 1989. Before the conflict, Syria produced an average of 4.1 million tons of wheat yearly and was able to export 1.5 million tons. A Paris auction house sold 3 Banksy prints amounting to 320,000 euros. The auction house sold print editions of Stop and Search, which depicts Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz being searched by a policeman for 65,000 euros, the most expensive of the night. The sale went on without any pranks by the elusive British artist. Last month, Banksy's Girl with Balloon painting shred itself to pieces seconds after it sold for more than £1 million at London auction. The world's longest sea-crossing bridge finally opened to the public. The bridge connecting Hong Kong and Macau to the mainland Chinese city of Zhuhai welcomed excited travellers on its inauguration day. Hundreds of people boarded numerous buses both from Hong Kong and Zhuhai city. Only 10,000 licenses have been granted to Hong Kong residents to drive private cars to Zhuhai if they meet highly selective criteria, including holding Chinese government positions. So people are mainly dependent on bus rides to commute through the bridge. The King and Queen of the Netherlands watched a joint demonstration of the British-Dutch Marine Corps on London's River Thames as part of their state visit to Britain. King Willem Alexander and Queen Maxima met representatives and veterans from both the United Kingdom and Netherlands armed forces on board the Dutch vessel called Zeeland, which was moored alongside the HMS Belfast in the British capital. The royal couple was accompanied by Britain's Duke of Kent and the Earl and Countess of Wessex. Britain's Prince Harry said that climate change was a daily threat for the people of Fiji and announced scholarships to study the problem as he and his wife Meghan Markle toured the South Pacific nation on the front line of global warming. Prince Harry also watched a demonstration of traditional mat weaving and also took part in the brewing of a traditional drink called kava. A zoo in the French capital of Paris celebrated the birth of a Bornean orangutan named Java, the zoo's first since the year 2005. Java, a female orangutan, is the first infant of her species to be born in France this year. Over 6 zoological parks house the frizzy orange-haired great apes. Orangutans' infants stay with their mothers for about 8 years and can survive in the wild for over 50 years.